Hi, I'm Sean and welcome to the layout. In this video we're going to work on this scene. If you remember last time we was doing all the plaster cloth and the rocky areas, where I showed you the technique of scrunching up some plaster cloth to make these nice rock effects. On the last video we got to about here, and the rest of the video, the rest of it I've done off of camera. So now we are ready to paint our undercoat on all these bits now. All these bits are now dry. So just got to paint our undercoat of acrylic paint, so we can then be ready for adding the rest of the scenics like the scatter. So just all the preparation today. Right, so the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to paint our rock faces with a tan acrylic as a base coat. Now the reason why we do tan is because it's just a nice light colour, and also when you paint a grey over the top of the tan, you can basically dab a bit of tissue on the grey paint and some of the tan will shine through. So just literally painting it on. Yeah, so all I'm doing is just giving the rock areas just a base coat. Don't have to be too fancy with it. Just slap it on there. Try and not get my arm in the picture. So, as you see, it's breaking up a bit now. So it's not just all white. I mean, I don't know yet, but some of these bits I might just paint brown and try and do a bit of a dirt texture on the bottom where maybe the water's coming up a bit. But all this section, it all comes out. I'll show on another video, but I think I might have showed you before in another video before I've done all this, that all this bit all comes out. So I might show you on another video when all this bit's done, how it all just comes out. Just do a little bit on that side. Yeah, just anywhere there's rock. Just puts a tan base coat. Also, the other advantage of doing tan base coat is that where you plan to have rocks, where there's tans, you know that that's going to be rocks, because as the build goes on, sometimes you kind of lose where the rocks are going to be on some places. But if you've got a bit of tan paint there, it's almost like, yeah, you know, you plan to have rocks there. You know, don't put anything else there because you plan to have rocks. Right, so just go and dampen the brush a bit. Just try and get it to all the white bits. But you can see by just giving it an undercoat, you see how the acrylic paint is bringing out some of the details. You know, some of the roughness of the rocks. It's been brought out by adding that one layer of acrylic. And all these they're cheap hobbycraft acrylics. They're not anything expensive. You don't need to buy expensive acrylics. Right, so now I'm just waiting for all that to dry. What I'm going to do now is just across this bit and the riverbed itself. So we then got a base coat for that bit. Now the acrylic paint I'm going to use for that, I'm going to use a brown acrylic. Yeah, again, just cheap hobbycraft one, but I think it's a bit of a mix. I think I put a bit of white in there just to brighten up a bit. Now the idea of doing this is that everywhere you're going to have ground scatter, like, you know, grass and stuff like that, if you paint on a brown base coat, if any of the scatter falls off or you haven't properly scattered a certain bit, then you're not going to see the white, you're just going to see the brown, which is, you know, is a dirt colour. So all you're really going to see is dirt if there's a bit of an area that hasn't quite taken to the scatter. So this is what I'm going to do now. Paint this top bit, paint the riverbed, Then we'll wait for that to dry and work on this bit. Right, so away we go. I'll start off in this area. Now, I'm not particularly worried about getting paint on this bit, so we'll just blend it all in. So it's not to worry. Now, you don't want a neat straight line of the brown undercoat, so what I'll try and do is just even it about a bit, that, you know, just have like bits that droop down a bit, so it's not just a complete straight line. Just along the top there. Just around there. Just give it a bit of variety. Yeah. Just the top of the river, top of that river there, just as it's coming down the waterfall. And move on to the river bit. Again, nothing fancy, just painting the undercoat onto the riverbed. Now what I'm going to do, just going to do a little bit of brown undercoat there, just to kind of simulate maybe water going up the bank a bit, so there's a bit of a muddy verge of the bank. And I'm not particularly brushing this on, I'm just dabbing this on. Just a light dab. Okay, right, we'll just let that dry for a minute and then we'll work on this bit. Right, what we're going to do now, we're going to paint all this bit while this bit's still drying. And we're going to paint this with a brown undercoat again. As I explained before, if there's a bit of your ground cover, a bit of your scatter that ain't quite right, all you're going to see is the brown undercoat, which is a dirt colour anyway, so it's not to worry. And most of this bit, I'll probably be having trees on most of this bit anyway. So I'm just going to start off with the brown undercoat, then wait for that to dry, then we'll go from there. So I'm going to start off with the brown acrylic mix that I've made up again. Again, like before, don't have to be too fancy with it. It's just literally an undercoat. And same again, where you've got the separation of the tan for the rock faces and the undercoat for this bit, just try and dab some extra bits of the brown undercoat onto the tan to just blend the two colours in, so it's not just like a straight cut from that colour to that colour. Basically, if it looks too much like a straight line, then you just kind of got to do a little bit of overpaint on those sections. You want to try and make it look as natural as possible. I really don't think this is going to take too long to dry. It's a good thing with painting on plaster cloth. So when you paint acrylics on it don't take too long to dry. What I am doing though is I am wetting my brush slightly. To make the acrylic go a bit further. It does absorb your paint. Now, I have seen people, they mix up some like sculpture mould or hydrocal plaster, and they just add acrylic paint to the plaster while they're mixing. Now that is a good idea, to be fair, but all the people I've seen doing that, to me there's a bit of mixed results. Some were good, some were bad. It's just mixed results. So I do it this way, so I just rather stick to the way that I know and that I'm happy with. I mean, everyone has their own different ways, and that's fine. That's great. you find you find your way, and you find what way works for you, and if that way works for you, then that's great. You stick to that way. You find your way, and then you stick to it. Now, as you see from painting that, that's very much dry already, near enough. But I don't know if you can see it on camera, but you see the paint has brought out a lot of texture, like mud texture. So just that one layer of acrylic has made a big difference already, just to that bit. Okay, right, let's move on to the next bit. Right, it's now time to start painting the rock faces now. I've just tapped them there and it seems to be dry now. So now ready to paint the next coat onto the rock faces. And for this coat, I've just mixed up a light grey acrylic, or lightish grey acrylic, and this is what we're going to use as a base coat. So again, just like we've done with the tan base coat, this grey base coat is going to be brushed on in very much the same way. Getting brush wet again. And what you want to do, just brush it on. Now, I'm not going like that with it, is dabbing. So instead of brushing on like that, just want to dab on like that. By doing it this way, the paint will get in all the gaps. Well, I say this is a light grey, it's turned out more of a dark grey. But I do some light grey highlights. It don't particularly matter what way round you do it. You could put dark first on, dark grey on first, and then light highlights afterwards, or you could do light grey first with dark grey highlights. Don't particularly matter, you still pretty much end up with the same effect. Or at least that's what we're hoping for anyway. But no, most of the time I've done it this way, I've come up with the effect that I wanted. But as I said in previous videos, if you paint something like this and you're not quite happy with it, then just do another undercoat on it and give it another go. Give it another try. There have been a few bits that I've redone on this layout because I haven't been quite happy with it. So I've just redone it. I just redo it until it gets to a point where you're happy with it. Sorry if my arm's in the video, I'm just doing the other side of the Other side of the rock face on the riverbank. Yeah, I've took the plunge and ordered a static grass applicator, so that'll be coming in the next week or so, possibly next week. Yeah, can't wait for that to get it, because I never used one. I've seen them being used on videos to nice effect, but I've never actually had it go myself. So that'll be an upcoming video. Putting some static grass around. Yeah, seeing how we get on with that. I get a lot of good results from static grass. But yeah, I finally set the plunge into getting an applicator, which is good. Right. So that's that. Just do a little bit. Just do a little bit there. And just a little bit there. Just a little bit of variety on the dirt, but right. Very nice. Right, so what we want to do now, so I explained earlier, once I've done this coat, I kind of want to dab it when it's still dry. Now, use makeup pad. All we want to do is just dab it in places. A little bit over the top there. Okay. Yeah, be careful how much pressure you're putting on here. Just want to do it while it's still wet. And basically what happens, I don't know how much you can see on camera, but some of the tan paint underneath will start shining through, coming through under the grey. There's another bit of variety. And the other thing it does, gives the rock a bit more of a rough texture. Okay, so we'll wait for that to dry and go on to the next bit. But before we go on the next bit, I just want to ask people if they subscribed yet, because I've noticed most of my viewers are people who haven't subscribed. So if you like what you see, if you could support the channel by subscribing, it'll really help the channel. Really help the channel to grow and reach out to different audiences. The the subscribes really help. Okay, alright, we're just gonna leave that dry and then we'll move on to the next bit. Right, in this bit, while this bit is drying, we're gonna work on the riverbed. Now to do this I've got various different scatters. Now this scatter you ain't gonna get from a model shop, however you can get it from any sort of supermarket, and that is what you call the cheapest cat litter. Now this is not used cat litter, obviously, this is straight out of the bag. Now I can't emphasize that enough, do not use used cat litter. You know, use it straight out of the bag, but this is like the cheap version of cat litter. You know, they're all sort of the same with the cheap ones, and it makes perfect stones and gravel for the bottom of riverbeds and mountain tops. So yeah, so I do. So this is one of the scatters we'll be using. I'll use a little bit of these two, which come from a Woodland Scenics pavement kit, but if you just use small amounts of both of them in the riverbed, it just builds up the layers. Also, it's got a bit of sand as well, I can use to just build up the layers. But before you do any of them, using Specialist Aggregates again. It's really good scatter material, really good. And what I'm using first, see, I ain't got a lot of it now, so I'm using a lot of it. But I'm using the brown universal ground cover. So this would be the first layer, and then add the other bits on as we go along. So right, I'll leave that open for a minute. So the first bit we've got to do, I won't do up there yet because it's blending up there, but we'll do this bit and this bit. And the first thing we've got to do is brush on some PVA glue, white PVA glue. So we'll do that first. Don't knock my tripod over. I've kind of got the tripod at a weird angle to just try and get a decent view. So it's a little bit wonky, but we'll get around it. Right. So try not to cover up my hand and my arm. Basically all I'm doing now is just brushing in a layer of PVA. Right, so got my layer of PVA in there. I'm going to get my Specialist Aggregates Universal Brown colour. I just want to pour it in, small handful at a time. Just pour it in, and this will form the base of the riverbed. Like that. Now, at the moment, it just looks too samey at the moment, so what we do is we add other different scatters to then add variety to the bottom of the riverbed, so it don't look too the same. So what I'm going to do now, just going to get my sand scatter. Now I don't want to completely cover it, I just want to do small areas. You want to think mainly around the centre. Just think where the water is, just kind of flowing it downstream. Also, I do a little bit of a build up, just around the end and the start of where the water drops down from one ledge to another. Okay, so that's already making a bit of a difference now. Now I'm going to go to the brown powder from the Woodland Scenics paving. Now just in light areas. Maybe a little bit just on the rocks there. Okay, let's see, it's slightly changed. Every layer gives a slight bit of change each time, and that's what it is. It's just a slightly more improved layer each time. So the next thing I'm going to do, also from the Woodland Scenic pavement kit, this is powder, the scale. The same again, you just want light amounts just near the sides, so as if maybe like the rock is kind of eroding slightly into the riverbed. There's no harm with getting bits of it on the rocks as well. So like that. Right. Now, next thing I'll do These come from the Woodland Scenics Realistic Water Starter Kit. There's a small bag of talus. Yeah, natural medium talus from Woodland Scenics. I'll sprinkle some of these in the bed as well. Now, I'll sprinkle these on mainly around the base of the waterfalls and just where the camera looks a bit blurry there. I'm not sure what's going on there. It looks a bit blurry. Right, just going to stick some talus right in the base. Yeah, that looks a bit better now. The camera looks a bit blurry. It's a bit better now. Right, so just think of when you've got the fast flowing stream, where's it going to take the stones? Where is bits of talus going to get stuck? Where's stones going to get stuck? And that's what you're thinking about here. You don't want to completely just cover in talus. You just want to think about where it could get caught and where it could get stuck. Put some on the edge there. And at the base as well. Just anywhere you think that basically stones could get caught up. Put some on the edge there. Like that. Right, now this is where the cat litter comes into it. The stones you want to look at is these more bigger stones. These are the ones you want. Now, let's put some just to the top. Don't want too many. You just want to place them in different areas. Maybe have some build up of boulders in some places. And I don't know if you see it on camera, but you can see it just building up a bit of a riverbed. Yeah, stony riverbed. Let's put a little bit there. Just a little bit on that side. And just small things can really make a difference. And that's all you're doing, just small little bits each time will make a difference. So now what I might do, just get some green scatter. You don't want a lot of it. I just lightly pour some in like